And for more now on just how the Supreme Court ruling will impact elections, I am joined by the Republican National Committee Chairman, Reince Priebus. Chairman Priebus, thank you very much. Give me your best arguments for why there shouldn't be limits and why this is a free speech issue.
Well, it was our case, so obviously we financed the case, and you know, what it comes down to, Andrea, is that the total individual limit, and by the way, Pete knows his stuff. He did a great job explaining this, but the issue for us is that the individual limits are still there. So it's not like people are going to be able to write out million-dollar checks to the Republican Party or to an individual candidate. All we're saying is the idea that you have aggregate limits, in other words, you can't give the full amount to 10 candidates running for office around the country, or you can't give the full amount to the Congressional Committee, the Senate Committee, and the RNC. It doesn't make any sense. And so the problem with the campaign finance laws generally, Andrea, is that the whole thing is a mess. I mean, the legislature's made a total mess of everything. And I think to your question to Pete, which was a good one, and Pete's answer was right on the spot, which generally is that the committees, like the RNC, the individual candidates, we disclose the most to the public, to the FEC every month. Every stamp we buy, every dollar we bring in is disclosed every month. So, and we're the most restricted, and we have the most limitation on what we can raise. But a lot of these outside groups have no restrictions, but they're unlimited in what they can raise. And so the reason we're excited is that it brings the political parties, I think the most accountable groups in America, a little bit closer to exercising our First Amendment rights just like everybody else.
Well, in fact, one of the criticisms of what Sheldon Adelson and on the other side Tom Steyer and some of the other wealthy Democrats do is that it has really sublimated the impact of political parties, that Democratic and Republican national committees are far less important when you've got billionaires running around on both sides financing people and doing so without disclosure.
Well, to me, I mean, in my own personal opinion, is that the political parties and candidates should be on the same level playing field as everyone else. That the First Amendment applies to everyone equally. So, yeah, the limits are still there. Personally, I think they shouldn't be, but that's not what this case is about. I think we should get to a place where the committees and the candidates that disclose everything should also be able to raise whatever they want, as long as it's disclosed in public. So, I mean, look, I don't disagree with Citizens United. I think it's a good case. I think that we should all be free and exercise our First Amendment rights, but this is a victory today for people who want to see political parties and candidates on the same playing field or a little bit closer to the same playing field as the First Amendment was intended to allow us to be.
Isn't the problem in politics, though, that there's too much money, not too little money in politics today?
You know, I don't know about that. But what I do know, Andrea, is that the laws that have been written and passed by the legislature they don't work. I mean, it's a maze. I mean, you look at 2012, right? So we have all these laws restricting money, having all these odd limitations to figure this stuff out. Honestly, I mean, there are very good lawyers here in Washington, D.C. and elsewhere, and we had one of our own in Indiana, that have spent their entire careers on these laws because they're so complicated. And you know what? It's not slowing down money. 2012, before this case, as Peter mentioned, you had the most money ever in politics, in spite of all of these folks who think that they're limiting money in politics. The only thing that has happened is the money is shifting from the committees that disclose everything to the public to places that don't. That's what's happened. It's more money just in places that you don't know about. I mean, I personally think our parties need to be more on a level playing field. And it's equal, too. It goes for the Democrats and Republicans.
Well, Reince Priebus, thank you very much. The plaintiff in the case today that brought the case before the Supreme Court. Thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thank you.